Check. Hey, Pete, how's it going? Can you hear me? Awesome. Yeah, so I don't know what was going on with Streamyard, but it was like showing me so in the Streamyard interface, it shows like who's in the studio. You guys who have joined us before know what I'm talking about. And it was showing me in here twice. It was only basically letting me mute one microphone. It was really odd. I don't really know why it was doing that, but it's not doing it now. So it kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So we're going to get going. I'm going to give like a couple minutes for people to jump in. Hopefully we can get up to, I don't know how many people were in here before. Sibilance. That's how sibilanth, right? That sounds so bad on my side. Oh, it's so gross. So gross. And whatever. Let's just get this going. This is going to be so fast. Thanks for joining this morning or watching replay. I think this will have a replay. We're going to talk Marshall a little bit. We're going to talk April Fools. We're going to talk about whatever else, I guess. And I got Philip from the 40 Watt podcast. How you doing this morning, Philip?
Yo, I'm here for the whatever else.
You're here for the whatever else. You don't want to trash on Marshall?
Oh, well, I've heard more about it and discovered that it's not nearly as, I don't know, it's not as big a deal as it was.
Right.
As we thought it was.
Yeah, so I guess like the hot take on this is like, oh, Marshall got bought out. Good for them.
Right, exactly. But they didn't, though. The family still controls the majority interest.
Right. So Guitar World came out and said that this is the first time in company history that the Marshall family doesn't own the company. And I guess like in a very technical sense, that's true.
Right. They don't own 100%.
But they still own 24%, which makes them the largest single shareholder.
Right.
So they don't have enough of the vote. They don't have a controlling stake.
Right. They don't get to place one vote and then whatever they want goes.
Yeah. So Snarky's already kind of hitting one of things that I think of as a mischaracterization of the situation. Is he says, I find it funny that a supplier of their speakers is the company that bought Marshall. This is not exactly true. Oh, cool. My kid's already up. That means I'm going to end the stream real quick. We'll get through what we can get through. Let me get through this real quick, this comment, and I'm going to go grab her some food.
Okay. Sounds good.
So it's not that a supplier of their speakers is a company that bought that
right
is acquiring them. It's the company that they were doing OEM through to manufacture specifically Bluetooth speakers and headphones.
Yeah.
That's right. So they're not buying their own thing. They're not manufacturing Bluetooth headphones in-house. I actually was under the impression initially that Marshall had this was something they wanted to do, but it kind of sounds like Zounds at least is known, or Zound. They are Zound.
Yeah.
Zound Industries is kind of known for this. They also work for a brand called Urban Ears, and they work for Adidas, which is another thing that I saw come out on Friday, is people are saying that Marshall got bought out by Adidas. Which is not true.
No. So it makes sense because they make their headphones and Bluetooth speakers under a licensing deal. And I think I heard Phil McKnight sort of speculate on this Friday. He doesn't, he's speculating, not saying for sure that
Yeah.
this is what's happening. But, Zound maybe saw the opportunity to be like, hey, we could stop paying licensing fees
Right.
and just buy into the company. So we're basically licensing from ourselves.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that's the way I see it as well. I also kind of see it as possibly if the Marshall Bluetooth stuff has sold really well.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, Bluetooth stuff in
you know,
general has sold well. So I'd imagine Sound is a bigger company than Marshall, if I'm honest.
yeah, if it's stuff that's been selling well for them, for Sound or for Marshall or whoever, right? Then it's almost like a scratch. You scratched my back once, and now I'm going to scratch yours. Like,
Yeah.
If Zound has been doing good business with the Bluetooth stuff, and they're in a position to, like you said, like maybe it's about licensing fees, maybe it could be about a lot of things, right? But
Yep.
it's a thing where they've basically said, hey, we've worked with you for 10 years. They clearly like what's going on. And they're gonna keep going with it. The other thing that's been said, and this was actually brought up in the previous chat, is this is kind of the nothingness, at least right now, that was Mesa getting bought out by Gibson.
Oh, yeah.
What's changed?
Nothing.
Maybe they have a bigger distribution for Mesa, but otherwise they've kept all the same people on board. Zound has actually said that all of their products go through, like they don't release any of the Marshall branded stuff independently. So all of their Bluetooth and headphone product is going back to Marshall. Marshall's saying like, yeah, we approve that you're going to put our name on this product, and then it goes out.
Maybe this cuts some of that out. Maybe this gives the opportunity for Marshall to put some things. Honestly, I'd like for it to end up being maybe some more innovative voices at the table.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it might bring to the company. Because from what I have been able to understand and read, the Marshall family still is designing the amps, putting the amps out, deciding, that kind of stuff that's happening. But maybe there'll be some more innovative voices being heard in things that are coming out. Because this is a conversation I had in another chat, that when was the last time Marshall put out something that was exciting, that was new?
Right. So I kind of I thought about this. I think I kind of feel like what Marshall maybe needs to do is so it's like what does this mean? What's the next step? Is I think one, it's tricky because Marshall does it, Fender does it, Gibson does it, the whole lifestyle thing. I've seen it a bunch of different places in the last week that the best product that Marshall's come out with in the last 10 15 years is the fridge.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And I've seen this from multiple people. But I think that's kind of like a funny way that people like think about it, I guess. But I look at their lineup and what their current amps are. And basically they have the Studio Series, the Origin Series, DSL, Code, which is basically their digital
their
amps,
digital thing,
DVM, hand-wired, vintage reissue, acoustic, the MG, now it's the MG Gold series, but the MG series, and then the microamp. Microamp probably cost them nothing to make. They're a novelty.
Yeah, and they're not making anything on it either. Let's be honest.
Yeah, the MG is a classic entryway. I'm trying to be like the MG in my experience is just shit.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I'm not a big fan of them.
That's why I
I
sighed when you said it. I've never heard one
yeah,
that actually, and this is not speaking from, today's Philip that owns a two rock. This is
yeah,
speaking from 15 years ago, Philip, or sorry, a little longer than that, where my only amp was a PV Classic 50, Philip.
right. But then
The
that's my problem is that I haven't played an MG in probably 20 years. Like
Yeah, exactly.
so
I was surprised when
do
you
they
said they
still
still make them.
yeah, do they still suck? Because now they're the MG Gold. So
Oh,
I
dude.
think they're all like they're if you look at the names instead of being like the MG 15, it's like the MG. Oh no, it is still called the MG 15. I thought they
Look at
were called
that.
something else.
Yeah.
I thought they were like the MG 15 X
Like
or
the PV
something.
Bandit was a better amp than the MG series.
Well, the PV Bandit was it's a great amp.
Yeah, but it's similar price point.
No, that's true. Um,
So
so I kind of think about I don't know someone Jason or no where was it? I saw it. Christopher Neiman says if I'm not mistaken, the last time Marshall made a big splash with a new release was the studio line, the classic and the vintage. I like their hand wired and vintage reissue lineup. Those make sense to me.
mhm.
I'm mixed on the studio. I don't know the sales numbers. Sales numbers should drive all of this.
Yes.
I think Marshall needs to kill at least two of their lines.
MG. Let's go ahead and start there.
Well, someone in the previous chat says the code sucks. Like the code is just getting crushed.
Well, so
By
nix
the
both of those and actually make something good. Because in
right.
that
Well,
same price point, I'm going honestly. I know there's a lot of love for the Boss Katana, but I'm gonna go Line 6 Catalyst. I think it sounds better. I think it's a great amp.
sure. But what I'm saying is like so the code is supposed to is if the code is designed to compete with that and it's not, then yeah, kill it. If
Yeah,
it's
kill it.
but I think they should only have one entry level, and in my brain, the code and the MG are both entry level.
I
So
agree.
it's like just pick one.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, like I said, nix both of them and actually put something out that's good. Like put all of those resources into one line that's entry level that covers the digital solid state thing and actually be good at it. Honestly, man, I know we're talking entry level price point, but that's wow. Whew, that's a hot take. I don't know. I never played one. Actually, I take it back. I did play one in a shop, but I didn't really give it a go. You know what I mean? I like plugged in just to see
I've
if it
never
worked.
played one.
It was a used one, so
You
also I
you
can't tell
have
if
an
it worked.
you have an Origin, right?
I had an Origin.
You had how was it for the
Oh, it was.
5
I
minutes
think it
that
was
you
a good.
owned
I
it?
think it was a good amp. If I didn't already have a divided by 13 that does the
Mm,
Marshall thing, I probably would have kept it. But instead, I used that money. I sold it and used that money to buy a reissue 58 335. So
okay.
I think it was a good use of
Oh,
that money.
335. I'm like running through like what the fuck is a 58 335 because
58
I'm
reissue.
just seeing numbers
Oh, I got you.
58335 and I'm like what
Yeah.
model Marshall is that?
No, I bought a reissue Gibson 1958 330 ES 335.
Yeah. I my hot take on this is I think they keep the Origin. It seems like it's doing well. The DSL is kind of a classic lineup. I think it's fine. Uh, they come out with a better entry level, or they kill both of them. Like you said, I could see
Mhm.
that. Better entry level. The JVM is kind of. I've never seen one in the. Well, I guess I've seen one in a Guitar Center, but
Right?
I don't really know anything about it. It's like a 4-channel, I think. It's got too many knobs. It looks like a Marshall trying to do a Mesa thing and put 1,000 knobs on the front of their amp.
Yep.
I don't know what any of them do. I'm
So
like I said, I'm kind of
Christopher Neiman says class 5 is apparently good. I wouldn't mind one. They don't make it anymore. It
yeah,
was a decent amp,
yeah.
but they don't make that anymore.
I think they need a class 5 equivalent in the Origin series.
Yes. They need a super low wattage and keep the classic look. Don't try to do anything
Yeah,
else. Like this is one of those things where we want them to do something else sonically or feature wise, but they are somebody who said it. I guess it was Phil McKnight on Friday. He said they were the name in live music, more so than Fender, more so than Gibson. There was an entire couple of decades where the backdrop for every rock stage was a wall of Marshalls.
Yeah.
They were the
Yeah.
name of every rock band.
Yeah. I'm trying to, I'm trying to approach this from in keeping this in mind. So Thrash Metal Studio says all these amps have their place and work for all levels of players. I'm just thinking about like where it kind of looks like Marshall has overlap, and if possibly they can consolidate sales.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Someone mentioned earlier that the Studio Series was like made waves when it came out because it was like, oh, you got a miniature JCM 800 and a miniature Plexi 1987 X, I think, or no, it's there's a miniature, there's two there. Yeah, one of them is a 59 SLP in a 20-watt package. The other one is the Jubilee.
And I've heard good things about these amps, all of them.
Small package. I'm kind of my thought now. Maybe again, I don't know what their sales look like. Maybe they're blowing up. I kind of feel like the Studio Series is dumb.
Really?
Like I get it, but unless it's like really blowing out sales.
Well, here's their problem. I'll be honest. Marshall has a couple of problems in the market right now, and this is just the way I see it. They've got a name, but they've got a name that's waning because their name is associated with loud, and we're not necessarily. I mean, literally, the title of the book about Jim Marshall is "The Father of Loud."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So those Studio Vintage series, I actually think they were a great idea. 20-watt classic tones, smaller package. The problem is they are $1,700 and $1,800, and they don't include at this point. I'm not saying that every amp should have this, but at that price point and what they're doing, they don't have any kind of cab sim technology or any kind of, the 2 notes built in. Freeman's eating them up. The Runt is cheaper than a Studio Vintage, and the Runt is a arguably better amp.
Yeah. Paul says it, and I don't know. I don't know if we can say this. Maybe we can. He says Jim Marshall himself set the whole "who will control what" in 2010. Zounds knows nothing about the musical instrument market and isn't interested. I don't know. Maybe that's true? Yeah. The first part is probably true, but the flip side of that is right now I feel like Marshall doesn't know anything about the musical instrument market.
Preach.
Like
that's it right there.
And maybe this is like some salt on the channel side. I know we talked about it on one of the podcasts recently. Why doesn't every major influential, YouTube channel have one of the reissue pedals right now?
Because
I can tell you why. Because they fucked it up. That's why.
Yeah.
Like, and I think it's a really cool product. I know from talking to Ryan, the reissue pedals are like really, like, we were interested in them because I thought it was really cool that they brought them. I know a lot of people were like, they should have put this in a 1590 B box or whatever.
God, yeah.
Especially because the Blues Breaker is 3 knobs. They could have put those. They could have did it. I'm like, the whole point of these reissue pedals is that they're reissued in the shapes that they were. The reality is like this. The 3.5. I got almost everything back here is in a standard Hammond case, except for the couple Boss pedals. I didn't realize my head was going to block everything, but whatever.
Well, this is actually the first time I've done video in my new setup, and so I'm seeing it for the first time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out the best angles and all that. So I'm using you as my guinea pig for next week when I record episodes.
Gotcha. But everything is these Hammond, is it the 1590 A box or the 125? I forget the box.
Yeah, you start throwing alphabet soup at me and I don't know, but
it's that standard like 2-inch by 4-inch box, basically.
Yeah,
whatever that is.
Hold on. close
Um,
to this box. Let me see if I can grab it.
yeah, Joe brings
I
up
have,
the
I have to show the
the
back of it because this pedal
yeah.
hasn't released yet. But
Joe says the governor and the drive master are the same pedal, but one has an effects loop. I don't know why they did it that way either.
well, also the Blues Breaker notoriously is a quiet pedal. You have to crank it to 9 or 10 to get anything out of it, and they didn't
Yeah.
fix that.
So it seems like there's a couple things that they could have done to make it better. But those things aside, and again, I understand that sometimes when a brand launches something, maybe they were somebody did some market research that said that these things were going to sell without any prompting. I've heard some people say that they sold out immediately. I have not been able to confirm one way or another. I know that everyone was taking pre-orders on them,
Yeah.
which I think is part of why people thought they sold out immediately.
Well, okay, even if they did, let's assume they did, right? The problem is that this stance of not buying into, and I say this as a podcaster influencer, which I'm hardly, barely. So most people don't send me things. A few people do. But so take that aside, like, because I'm not that market like you and Ryan are. But they are not embraced what is honestly the way things work now.
Right.
And this isn't new. This isn't just with these pedals. This is with every amp release. They don't send anything to anyone. Period.
Yeah. I can say, and that's, I don't even necessarily think that they need to.
In
I
a
don't
world
necessarily
where
think they
in a
need to
world where
like embrace this.
freedom exists, they need to.
That's fair. I'll say, like, not giving away anything for free or not, whatever, is very much like, that's like the old Jim Marshall story. Is that no artist ever got a discount. Like, they just, Jimi Hendrix paid for every one of his amps in full, kind of a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
And that's fine. But hey, that was literally
50 years ago.
55 years ago. So it's time to rethink that a little bit and change with the times a bit.
So Jason Welch, does Marshall think they're big enough to not have to rely on sending demo gear out? I don't want to say that they're relying on not sending demo gear out. What they did is possibly just rely on the retailers doing it all.
Yes.
I don't know how it is now. What is that pedal called?
Which one?
Marshall Blues Breaker. The Marshall Blues Breaker was the first one. If you go in and filter by videos released, let's say this year, because that pedal was released this year, and then you take that and you sort by view count. The Andertons video is the #1 viewed video at 124,000 views. After that is Marshall's own video at 47,000 views, and then Sweetwater at 30,000 views. Okay. And then Pedal Pawn, which Pedal Pawn's actually a pedal company.
Right. But they do some really great, really great videos.
Then after that is Chris Buck of Cardinal Black playing the vintage reissue pedals. And that's from Marshall. So I get Marshall's kind of distributing this, and I'm not saying we would have put up numbers anywhere near that.
Right.
I think it's more about getting a variety of things. And I will also say this is, I think there is a good chance that we would have done it for free.
Right. Exactly.
And it was more about the language. And again, Ryan and I shared this before, is they kind of started off with everything was boilerplate. And even after other creators, other YouTubers that they contacted said, hey, this isn't how I do business, they kind of kept with that same, well, we're just going to keep copy pasting answers.
Yeah.
I know
I read some of the emails.
Ryan's big thing is we've always kind of like prided ourselves on, like, well, we're not like, our opinions are our opinions. If we think a company did something dumb, then we're just going to say that this thing's dumb, whatever. and
Michael Krause has a point.
he had 100 people watching that.
I tuned into that stream, by the way, like 2 hours in. I was like, "Oh, these assholes."
No, the best part, just to I'll come back to that because
Yeah, come back to
I said,
that.
I want to talk to that later. Is my issue is that Marshall came back in, and one of the things that it seemed like they didn't really understand that, and I guess and it's because maybe they're new to this, is like, you're not, when you hire us, you hire Colin Scott, you hire whatever, you contract out this work. They said like, oh, we want to give these to you guys as gifts because if we pay you, then we're going to have to then we're buying your opinion or whatever. And we're going to have to review your video to make sure it's good. And this is where Ryan was frustrated is Colin had already told them, I'm pulling back the curtain a little bit. Colin had already told them that's not how this works. You're paying me to make the video. You're not paying me to tell me what my opinion is.
Right.
And so when Ryan came back and said, sure, I'll do it. Here's my rates. Let's talk. And they came back and said, oh, well, we don't want to pay you because we don't want to tell you what your opinion is. And we don't want to have to review your thing. Ryan's like, well, he already knew that other people had already talked to them about it. I can say I don't, whether it's a fair rate, you guys decide. You can, if you think our rates aren't fair, that's fine. I can tell you that Ryan is very busy at our current rates. And so I can tell you that we would have done 2 or 3 or maybe 4, but at least 3.
Yeah.
Based on how our marketing is written, we will do up to 3 pedals on an unboxing for $700. So what I see as a small investment, God, this sounds like a pitch, of only $180 per pedal or whatever, to get an unboxing video that's going to go out to 115,000 subs. Are those good numbers? I don't know. The other side of it is just the way that it was, just because it was the writing was so impersonal. It was just kind of, it just felt cold. It felt like the folks who were running it didn't know what was going, didn't really know what they were doing. They could have said, hey, instead of saying, hey, we want to, we don't want to control your opinion by paying you. They could have just said, we don't have a budget. So we're gifting people and you guys, do whatever kind of content you want to do with it. Or do no content about it. We actually reached back to them and said, well, if you want to send it to us, go ahead and send it to us. And they never got back to us. So I don't even, it's kind of confusing, as I don't even know if these pedals, some of them exist. And obviously there was the one guy who's also, I forget his name, but he got 12 of them.
Oh, yeah. He did send them back though, the ones he didn't order, but
yeah.
So I think it's interesting. For example, again, referencing back to Phil McKnight, just because that's the most recent, person I've heard talk about it. He didn't even get contacted by Marshall, and no offense to y'all, but I feel like his channel is more their target audience anyway. In a way,
it felt like, because we got contacted by them through Instagram.
Okay,
it kind of just felt like. And this is how these things work sometimes, is I don't know if somebody just searched for a hashtag. It's not like we're doing much better than Phil on Instagram either, because our Instagram doesn't have much.
Do you know if other creators were found through Instagram?
I don't know.
So I know for example, Phil's not big on Instagram. In fact, he's talked about it. His wife has taken over handling his Instagram because he's just not into it. It's not his thing. But so maybe that's what it was. That's also definitely why they'd never contact me. My Instagram's terrible. Follow me at 40 Watt Podcast.
But I mean, we're barely bigger than, because Phil's pulling 18,000 on Instagram. We're pulling 21, so it's not like we're very big on Instagram.
Yeah.
Maybe we're just more active. which is to say maybe we're more annoying on Instagram. But yeah, I think the pedals are good. I think they could have done a lot with it, and I feel like at least so far they haven't. Maybe that is maybe that's something that will change when they actually have these in consistent stock, since at least I think the Governor and the Bluesbreaker are currently they're showing as pre-order on Sweetwater, but I don't know if that's actually pre-order or if it's actually a back order situation. So they might be sold out. I don't know. Maybe they're doing really well and I'm just not getting talked about in the circles I'm in.
Yeah.
I do kind of feel like if they were doing really well, I would see more demos of them. But again, that could just be my naive take.
Yeah. I know they had boxes and like whole crates of them at the Birmingham Guitar Show. So they sold there. They had them in stock.
Right.
I think we're seeing a little bit also of just the whole what we get used to as Americans, brands putting things out, and then UK and Europe have trouble getting them because they're having to import them. We're getting the reverse of it a little bit. It's a little harder to get them to the US. That's why they're priced up over here too. They're more expensive here than in the UK.
Yeah, and that could be another reason. The slow rollout on YouTube is they're if they get a ton of orders, then people are going to get salty when they don't get filled. I don't know.
Yeah,
there could be very good reasons. I just it kind of just seemed like from the UK office, and again, this is going back to the idea that Sound has no interest in being part of the musical instrument community. Again, it kind of felt like when they didn't even actually roll this out through a marketing person.
Exactly. No,
they rolled this out through their education department, which I don't really understand. I don't know if that means they don't have marketing people in-house at their UK office, which doesn't really make sense to me, but I don't really know. I don't know what's going on over there.
So my last take on Marshall, just as a company, and I say this as a Marshall fan, because I love Marshall amps. I used to gig with a vintage super bass. I loved that thing.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I gigged with a 100-watt super bass. People loved me at blues gigs, showing
I'm
up
sure.
with a 100-watt amp and a 412 cab. But they're so out of touch. I don't even look at them anymore. Like I got that Origin, and that was cool. That was fun to play, but ultimately I didn't need it, so I sold it off. Which was great, but I want them to do well. But they have long fallen into the pit that I think Fender is starting to go into. In that I love the stuff they've done in the past, but their current stuff, I feel like there's a price markup just for the name. And for example, I'm going to keep using Friedman because it's the most obvious parallel.
Right. And that Dave said that.
Yeah. And so you look at the Marshall SV20H, the head, right? It's like 1,600 new. It's selling for like 1,200 used. You look at a Friedman Runt 20 head, which sells for like 1,300 new and is going for like $800-900 used. I mean, I'm going to go Friedman every day because I actually think they're made better, to be honest. And it's cheaper.
Yeah. It's, yeah, I don't know. Somebody said earlier, I don't remember if it was in this, this chat or in the bungled live stream, my broken one. Who cares? Who cares? Marshalls are relevant. And I guess you could kind of say that for like every brand. I feel like, if any brand goes out of business, somebody else is going to step in. If Gibson goes out of business, then we're just all going to go buy, every company that Gibson has sued to get their Les Paul bodies off of there.
Go buy them.
It's just going to come back, Callings is going to start making them again. We're all just going to run out and buy PRS single cut 594s or whatever.
If Gibson goes out of business, I'm marking all of these up and listing them for sale.
Man, I've been trying to move my Gibson bass. I think I need to drop the price on it. I'm not even getting, apparently my price is so high that I'm not even getting like lowball offers.
Wow.
I just
I
haven't.
saw
I'm
one of
not.
those recently. I meant to play it and see what it felt
Yeah.
like.
I'm not super motivated to sell it, but I just don't. I have too many bases as is. In my head, Marshall is the Fender of amps, and I guess that's kind of like the way that I came into music is like, or not into music specifically, but into the gear world.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I when I started playing, like Fender and Gibson were like your electric guitar companies, and Fender and Marshall were your amp companies. And I mean, there were a lot of other companies. Mesa was big at the time, PV was big at the time. But when you thought of like who are the big classic companies, it was or who do you see as like true competitors? It was Fender and Gibson for electric guitars, Fender and Marshall for amps, and I guess like probably Taylor and Martin for acoustic guitars.
And Gibson,
and I guess even
Gibson acoustics were huge.
And I guess even like saying competition isn't the right word, because I saw these as like parallel branding, where it's like Fender is clean, Fender is Fender guitars are chimey, Fender amps are clean, and then if you wanted to play something heavier, you went Gibson paired with a Marshall, of course, is your classic.
Yep. That's the way I always thought of them growing up. As a guitar player growing up, is it's the whole, you want a clean tone, you get a Fender Twin. You want a crunch tone, you get a Marshall. That was it.
So yeah, that's all I got on Marshall, I guess. So I get transitioning a little. Yesterday we did April Fools. I want to talk about the different April Fools, I guess. And we did ours. Ryan told me, what I told him is, I go, dude, we should have done what we should have done. And I'm going to go ahead and say it, because either everyone, maybe most of y'all will forget by next year. But what I wish we would have done, or this just won't be a thing in a year for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
Is we should have had ChatGPT generate an entire podcast script for us.
Oh, yes.
I wish we would have done that. I didn't think about it until yesterday morning. I was like, man, this is an idea. Just have it write an entire script and we just read it out. It may have been like, it's April Fool's, so you're not expecting a full episode. It can just be like a short random episode with no context. And just read the script. But then Ryan said, like, oh, I'm going to go live later, but I'm just going to turn the camera on and I'm going to walk away. And I was like, okay, that sounds good. And so he ran it for like 2 hours, and then he closed the laptop, but it was probably plugged into power, because it didn't, I don't know if it actually turned the laptop off. The thing is and again, I didn't know this either, is if you don't tell StreamYard to end the broadcast, it will just keep running with the globe background, this globe background that you see. Right. I think you can see it right now. I don't know. I'm not running it in the background. Oh yeah, you can see it in the background right now. I usually run a window with a YouTube stream on it, just so I can watch the comments a little faster. So he closed it. StreamYard first set changed to, I thought it ended because it showed the icon, the camera turning off, and then the icon leaving. And also I wanted to watch the state FAU game, which was insane. I think that game is gonna the game was kind of like, at points, was very messy. But I think that last 10-second sequence, depending on how the championship goes, I think that last 10-second sequence could go into like it's going to be, it's not going to surpass it, but it will be in the same conversation as Leitner at the half court line.
Wow.
Like,
But
I
like
mean,
instant classic. Instant
yeah,
classic.
yeah.
I was driving back from a jazz festival yesterday, so I didn't get to watch it. So I was getting the updates on my phone. And when I saw that Iowa State won it, I was like, what? Or San Diego State won it. I was like, what? Iowa State's in the women's championship.
Oh,
so
okay.
my brain went state and was like, no, San Diego State. I was like, wow, how did that even happen? Because they were down big at halftime.
Yeah, they were down, I think 9 or 10 at half. They fought
They were
back,
down
fought
15
back,
at one point.
Was it 15? Jeez.
Yeah, it was 15.
I think that was when I was when it got to halftime, my kid turned the TV off. I didn't get it back on until maybe halfway through the second half.
Oh, gotcha.
But
3 hours and 57 minutes, by the way, was how long the stream went yesterday.
Yeah, so the second hour and 57 minutes was just with the laptop closed. No, the best part, you got to watch, if you go back to watch the last play of the State FAU game, you have to watch it, the actual CBS or whatever, whoever was broadcasting it,
right?
Because when they're bringing the ball down, the announcers go, oh, and then you have to watch the post-game interview, or I'll just tell you about the post-game interview. But yeah, when they're bringing the ball down, the announcers go, are they going to call timeout? They got to call timeout. There's no scorers on the floor. I think the player's name was Butler. He goes, does Butler even know he's running out of time? Like, the announcers are just like, what the hell's going on? Why didn't they call? Because it's, usually with that little time left.
Yeah, you call timeout, you advance the ball down the court.
Yeah, you call timeout, you're calling a set play, et cetera, et cetera. In the post-game interview, they asked the coach, Brian Dutcher, they go, why didn't you call timeout there? And he goes, well, I trust my guys. My guys are hungry. They want to score. Also, I didn't have any plays left to run. Which I can't imagine that was actually true, but that's the best comment.
That's so good.
So at that point, I had the game on my TV. I rejoined the live stream and just hung out in the chat. And yeah, there was probably 20 people in the chat, people waiting. And I finally got Ryan to respond. I wasn't going to call him, but I finally got Ryan to respond to a text message. And I go, hey, man, the stream's still running. And he was like, oh, oops. Because again, like, I guess if you don't end the broadcast in StreamYard, it just keeps running. I did have some people, of course, comment that is this going to be the longest? It's definitely the longest live stream we've done. I think the record for longest live stream ever was which one is this? I don't know what this is. This is an article saying the longest live stream, but it doesn't.
I've got one that says it was Zhejiang Lian Electric Vehicle Company. It was 624 hours, 37 minutes, and 55 seconds.
Maybe that's like, this is the one where they have a camera, I think, set up in their factory.
Yeah, that's it.
The one that I had heard was the longest, but maybe it doesn't count because it's just a music stream, was Chilled Cow.
Oh, that tracks.
Lo-fi hip hop channel. But maybe they're not counting it because YouTube actually killed the live stream. I don't know why. I don't remember what the circumstances were, but they actually shut it down at over 13,000 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Because they said it was I don't know if it was because of music or something. Because of the music that was on there or something, but Chilled Cow had violated the terms of service.
Okay.
But then they said then YouTube said it was a mistake.
I know as far as gear streamers go, Mary Spender did a 24-hour live stream once.
Yeah. I never watched that, so I don't really know. I I guess I don't know like how much like how involved that was.
No, that was entirely active. I watched a large chunk of it at one point. She brought on different YouTubers and different people into like interview type scenarios, and she played a bunch of live music. But it was like active live streaming,
Oh,
like
cool.
talking to a microphone for 24 hours.
Wow. That's nuts.
Yeah, no, that's wild. I couldn't do it.
The other April Fool's things I saw, I actually didn't see a ton of like efforted, I'd say efforted things. So when I say efforted, it's like, well, if you just made like, we're going out of business, like,
Yeah,
congratulations. Congratulations on not going out of business.
right. I decided to sell all my guitars and take up the accordion.
JHS did the Bat Sim, which when you go to the website says you can pre-order it, but if you click on the pre-order, it takes you to a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Ask me how I know, because I tried to order it. So they did that. Caroline Guitar did a little video for a real product that they called the Alpha Gainer or Alpha Gains or something, which was just like I think an overdrive pedal. Caroline Alpha Gain, that's what it was called. And Philippe over at Caroline has this character that he does that's kind of like a testosterone bro, I guess. So it's and of course he's down in South Carolina, so testosterone bro drives like a T-top Firebird, whatever, what that it's that specific South Carolina version of testosterone bro, cut off shirts, all that stuff. And then the other one that I saw, and like I said, I only saw a handful, but the one that I saw that I got a real good crack out of, and is also a real product, is the Big Ear Chase, I think is the name of it's the Big Ear Chase. It's $41. You can buy it on their website. There's only 41 available. I don't know how many are left, but it says it's still available, and it's a piggy bank.
Oh.
And it's in a pedal case, and they cut a slit on the edge so you can put like coins or whatever in it. But it's just their standard box. I think it looks really cool. The graphic is fun. It's named after their rabbit, their bunny Chase. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's
I
called.
didn't even see that one.
It's called Chase the Bunny Money Bank. But bunny is crossed out.
Yeah, it's adorable. And I love that the knobs are there's two knobs and it's labeled trust no one.
Yeah. That's why you put it. I mean, I kind of like, the problem is if somebody's like robbing your house, they're going to see all the pedals. They're probably going, I would assume that they would see the pedals and be like, oh, there's value here, and take them. But on the other hand, like, you could just take this actually could be like a really good hiding spot. I think it's better than like fake books. Like, I
don't know, I like fake books.
Of course you do.
Of course I do.
So I don't know. Did you see any other April Fools, April Fools?
Not really any good ones. And I'll be honest, I'm a little burned out on the whole April Fools thing.
I think everyone kind of is.
Yeah, I'm a little burned out on it. It's like, okay, it's fine. I literally just decided I wasn't going to pay much attention to the internet yesterday at all because of it. So,
I guess I did see one of the cable companies, was it Rattlesnake? Maybe, I don't remember. Did an April Fool's sale? No, Caulfield Cables.
Caulfield did, yeah.
They just like a few people did sales. Donner did one that people were like super pissed about. which was
Really?
so Donner did one um where everyone who placed an order on April 1st would be randomly selected to get a no threshold coupon equal to the payment of the order.
Oh.
So if you place an order, you would be put into a contest to get your order for free. Now, this made the circle on one of the Discords I was on, and I think it was Emily from Get Offset pointed out that might be illegal.
Oh.
But Donners, I'm sure they're it's certainly most likely illegal in the United States.
Right. Well, that's like I don't know, there's some weird things once you start getting international on those kinds of giveaways and
Yeah.
stuff like that because for example, technically speaking, you're not allowed to do a giveaway to just your Patreon supporters.
Yes.
Because it's considered a raffle, but that pedal show does it. And I think it has to do with them being in the UK.
Yeah, I don't. I'll say that there are creators that I know who just don't give a shit.
Well, I mean, technically, y'all did it one time and then realized you couldn't do it. I only know that because I was the one who won it.
What did we? Well, I don't even remember.
You sent me a Keeley modded Boss BD1.
Oh, that must have been something. I don't even remember it. Did Ryan do that on his own?
Yeah, I don't know. I do not know. That was that was so long ago now.
Yeah. Now I do know that there are aspects of that become I do know that there are aspects of that you can like work around, and Patreon gives you a walkthrough if you were to Google like how to do a Patreon giveaway.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Gesundheit.
Jeez. How to do a Patreon giveaway? It will say like, well, if you just send items to people in your highest tier, then that's not considered a giveaway. It just can't be random. And I think even if you were to say like that you're doing a giveaway to all your subscribers or to everyone who does a thing, but then Patreon people who support through Patreon get 2 entries, that's fine.
Yeah,
because
that makes
because
sense.
In that case it's public. Excuse me. But yeah, it's even they point out that even in the United States, like certain states consider giveaways where you have to like there's some cash exchange to enter as gambling, and not all states have legalized gambling. But yeah, so it says make a contest that relies on creator agency. So there's like a really weird that's a weird thing too, is if you were to say like hey, we're going to do a contest that's Patreon only. Everyone in the Patreon is invited to send in a suggestion of what they think we should demo next. And the winner, we're going to do that demo, and then we're going to send them the product afterward.
Oh, well, you know what? That may be how that pedal show does it, because they send out a trivia question that you have to answer in order to enter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So that might be, that might work.
Yeah.
But it has to be, there has to be, it just can't be random. It has to be driven by some kind of decision-making process. But the guidelines for what constitutes a decision is like either you had to actually pick somebody or the community pick somebody. So we could run one on Patreon and say, hey, we want to give away this thing to our patrons. And we want the patrons to pick who they think should win.
Oh my God, Fight Club, just like full on like Hunger Games it.
Yeah, so it just can't be. Now, the other thing is you can also post a contest to Patreon. This is a screwy thing,
Yeah.
is you can post it to Patreon, and as long as that post is public, then you can do the giveaway. But by
Oh,
posting it to Patreon, I don't know how many. I got a ballpark. I think we have somewhere around like 100, 130 patrons on Patreon, somewhere around there. Um, but I don't know how many followers we have. So if
oh
you were to
yeah.
make a post that's public, it would go to both your followers and your patrons.
Oh,
But
that's
in our
interesting.
case, at least, it's mostly patrons who are going to see it,
Right. That
you
makes
know?
sense. Yeah, I'm trying
So
to think. Is there a way to even see how many followers you have?
you, I think if you were to,
Insights?
if you log into, uh, yeah, I don't, is it Insights?
I
Maybe
don't
it
know.
doesn't necessarily, I don't know. I know there's a way to view it when you look at something because I've seen the list.
Yeah. I don't know.
Um,
Anyway, sorry, I
yeah.
got distracted there. I logged into my Patreon. I was like, can I see how many people follow? And can I message them and be like, hey, why you creeping? You could support here.
So, well, a lot of people, they use Patreon to, they throw out a freebie every here and there, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't have a big take on it. And that's Donner's going to do what Donner wants, and it at the end of the day, if nobody complains, then it doesn't really matter. I didn't buy anything, so I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Exactly. Anyway, it's the whole I'm kind of done with April Fools. I'm just maybe it's just
yeah,
I'm old enough now that I've seen enough April 1st that I'm like, this is boring. This isn't fun anymore.
I feel like that's kind of a broad. I think. Oh God, this is. I'm like leaning into boomer. I feel like, um, but I kind of think that we're at a point where at least a lot of the classic um, April Fool's things, people are like, well, that's insensitive. People are,
Yeah.
that's you know oh, I'm in, April Fool, like, oh, I'm in the hospital. I had a massive heart attack. April Fools.
Yeah.
Like, and then people are like,
Or the pregnancy
the pregnancy
April
one
Fools.
is a big one.
Yeah.
That, uh, that, yeah, I started seeing a lot of backlash to the pregnancy April Fools, like maybe 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So, um, and again, like, it is what it is. I don't really. The My daughter did an April Fool's once. The one where it was, what did she do? You put a bunch of coins in an upside down glass of water. That she did, where it's like you take like something that's hard plastic.
Uh-huh.
You fill a cup with water. You put the plastic thing on top of it, and then you like flip it upside down so the water stays in there.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah,
then,
yeah.
you pull the thing out, so the water's just on the counter. There's no way to get there's basically no way to move the glass without dumping water everywhere.
Yep.
So she did that one once years ago. Um, and I said, like, oh, cool, you did an April Fool's joke. Go get some towels because you're going to clean this up.
We did one back when I was at MTSU. I was really active in the BCM, which is the Baptist Collegiate Ministries. It's their version of BSU, whatever. Neither here nor there. We used to prank the guy, the director of the BCM. One year we filled his office full. We blew up a massive amount of balloons and filled his office with them. And when I say filled his office, I don't mean what some people mean, and like, oh, the whole floor was covered, or
Mhm.
oh, there were some, taped to desks and chairs. No, no, no. We filled it floor to ceiling. There
Oh
was no
gosh.
room, almost no room to open the door. So, um, and I loved this prank. This was so good because what is the easiest way to clear a room full of balloons? Do you know?
I'm
It's to
trying.
pop them. You pop
Yeah.
them.
Well, okay. I was thinking
Yeah.
like, what's the fastest way to
Yeah.
pop a
Yeah.
room
You
full of?
pop them. We filled half of them with confetti.
Oh my gosh.
So it was great.
I was just thinking like, well, is it? Can you like turn the heat up in the room? Like, if
Oh
you
yeah,
turn the
that
heat up in a blower, turn the blower on, maybe you could heat the balloons up enough. Like, if they were
yeah,
blown up enough, you could like get the air to expand, and then they would pop on their own. But
sure.
it legitimately probably is just to run through with a needle or some scissors or whatever and
That's
start popping
exactly
stuff.
it. That's the easiest way to do it. Just take a needle and start popping them. Yeah, I don't have any massive topics. Anything else going on in the gear world that like really is interesting? Um,
I'm struggling to. I don't know. Nam is in 11 days,
yeah,
so
NAM is in
kind of
11 days. That'll be interesting. I wish I could be there.
yeah.
But I can't this year. It fell on the same weekend as a blues festival that I
Right.
play every year, and
Yeah.
so the blues festival is more important to me than NAM. So uh,
Um,
also making money is more important to me than spending money.
yeah. So I did a call out for topics. So one I'll say like I am excited about Nam. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah.
But Robert McDowell asks, what's the best platform to sell your gear? I don't know, man. I've had to get that amp. Robert, you mentioned earlier, I've had that amp head listed for like 3 years. Clearly, I need to lower my price, but it's a uh, custom Defender 15 head. It's actually a really good head, but it's not moving, and I'm just not like interested enough to lower the price to where it probably would move.
Sure.
It's kind of a bummer because I was picking between that amp and my Wong. So the Defender 15 has a defeatable. It's either 15 running 15 or 4 watts, um, and so in the house I would run it in 4-watt mode most of the time. But the problem is then I've got a Wong. I had the Wong's 5-watt amp, and I'm going to grab something out of the closet real quick.
Okay.
If my headphone will let me, and it will. I've got this guy. This is a satellite Gamatron 2.8
Oh, that's rad.
watts. So this is going to be. I've got the crate back there right now because I was running bass through it. I think I'm going to try to run bass through this because again, if I'm just playing in my room, I don't really think the amp is going to matter a ton, and this thing will get dirty. It's
I
going to be
used
a
to
lot of fun.
record bass through a VHT Special 6, which
Oh
is
yeah,
like
yeah,
a little 6-watt amp, volume
yeah.
tone, 10-inch speaker, and it recorded so great. It sounded so good. But as far as platform to sell your gear, Robert, when you figure it out, you tell me, man, because um unless you are severely undercutting on reverb, nothing moves. Facebook Marketplace is just a place for people to click the "Is this available?" button. Um, Craigslist is a complete and utter ghost town. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's all
I have not tried Sweetwater's gear exchange yet, although maybe I need to. Maybe that's the next step.
my thing with using the gear exchange is I don't really want to ship anything.
Yeah, I don't mind
Maybe
shipping if that means I can move it because I don't live in a metro area like you
right.
do. I
Yeah.
live in middle of nowhere.
Ryan made the suggestion that I like relist everything in San Diego, but it didn't. I did that a couple weeks ago and it didn't really matter.
I do
Um
find that if stuff is not moving, this worked for me last year when I was selling a bunch of stuff.
mhm.
If you've had it listed for a while and it's not moving, retake pictures, take better pictures.
Yeah.
Find a way to take better pictures, relist. I actually got more money for a piece of gear after taking better pictures than I originally got when
Oh,
I listed it.
interesting.
And pray your stuff doesn't go to Chicago apparently. I apparently need to watch Trogley's video about the U.S. Customs stealing gear.
Yeah. Let's see. Dog Dickdale. I'm not sure if that's means the dog version of surf guitarist Dick Dale, or a guy named Dale who has a dog dick. I'm still very confused. I think Ryan and I had this conversation the other day. But favorite weird guitar models.
What you got, Steve?
I don't know. You can't really see it. Maybe I need to change the way some of the stuff is angled back here. But I do have a Jag Stang. That's probably the weirdest guitar that I don't know if the Jag Stang is the weirdest guitar or that Italia bass. That white bass.
Oh,
is
the
an
Italia bass is definitely the weirdest thing you have.
That's probably the weirdest thing I have.
Let me grab mine.
Actually, I always say that the weirdest guitar I have is the red Telecaster because it has a Strat neck pickup.
Oh, I got a couple of weird things. Let me
Sure.
All right, so the first one, and maybe the weirdest, ugliest thing I've ever seen, is this. This is a Gretsch. Okay, I'm gonna specify because it does not say Gretsch.
Did you send this to us?
I don't think so.
This looks so familiar.
But so this body style is like a Gretsch TK300. It's one of the weirdest models I've ever seen. It's definitely the weirdest Gretsch model I've ever seen. Now, this does not say Gretsch,
right?
But it does have under the pick guard. Now, I refinished this. This originally was like that really light wood clear finish that, like, I don't know, weird like furniture looks like, and it's not good. So I refinished it black. There's no plate on the back where it connects, but it does have a label underneath the pick guard that says "Made in USA" with a 4 model number. So I actually think this was a prototype that somehow got out of the factory. Now the neck has no truss rod, I cannot get the action any lower than it currently is. So it is a slide guitar.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I feel like we covered one of these on the show.
Probably.
If it wasn't the TK300, it was something like
they made a bass version too.
Period.
They made a TK300 bass, maybe. Yeah, I think it was also called the TK300.
The awfulness of the headstock and the weird angling of the pickups just looks really familiar.
It's so funky. But then, like, the usable weirdest guitar I own is this Harmony H82 Rebel. But because it's got, my favorite thing is it's got sliders for volume and tone.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I bought this from Fanny's in Nashville, actually. Their tech redid it. They took they took the really terrible vibrato that these had on it off of it, and he retrofitted a Bigsby on it. But it's got the original DeArmond gold foils on it. I love this thing. I think I paid like $700 for this, completely redone.
That's not bad.
No. There are no side neck dots, so someone at some point took some white out.
Oh my gosh.
And put neck dots on the side of it.
Classic.
Yep. But I love it. It's I think I dated it to 1967.
Oh, okay. Is that pot dating or just looking serials?
Yeah, pot dating, and there's some stuff on the inside that you can tell. And right now it's been so long I can't remember how I did it.
Gotcha.
But, yeah.
Let's see.
I'm gonna put these up before I drop them.
The next thing on here. I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. Apparently, Trogley made a video. He made a video about a guitar getting one of his guitars getting stolen or something.
Yeah. I
Um,
haven't heard anything about it, so
and now we're calling it an assertion that the U.S. Department of Customs is running a international theft ring because they're like someone's opening packages, I guess, at their Chicago location. Is that what it is? And I don't know. I don't know what the details are.
yeah, I don't know, so I'm gonna have to look it up.
He's got a video from 3 days ago called "This Review Was Canceled Due to Theft."
Huh.
But I don't really know what that means. Is the U.S. Department of Customs running an international theft ring? Probably. I mean, why not?
I just recently had a guitar come through customs, so I'm really glad it didn't get stolen. So
apparently, it's only if it goes through Chicago. The other ones are above board, which, given the history of Chicago, makes sense. Of course, Chicago being one of the great classic mob cities. So, kind of just makes sense, right? Let's just
sure. I mean, if we're looking for a reason.
Yeah. I don't know anything about it. I haven't seen it. For better or worse, I don't actually watch a lot of YouTube videos about gear.
I don't either anymore. I don't watch demos anymore of gear for the most part. I don't know. I think once you're in this deep enough, you don't need to see every demo of every overdrive pedal that ever comes out. And Trogley's channel is fun, but I typically don't watch his stuff either.
Michael Kraus asks, best way to get into a practice routine? I'm in a rut so deep I could hang posters. I don't know. I'm in the same boat. I mentioned it. So Ryan gave me one of these, the Flamma FX10. I plugged it in. It's actually really cool. Because I'm in my office, I have these headphones, so I can just run that as like a headphone amp. That's like a quick fix if like the issue is like, well, I just don't want to set things up. But big picture, I don't really know what the answer to that. In my head, like, I feel like the best way to get into a practice routine is to sign up for some kind of online lesson course.
Yep.
But then that gives you like the gym problem where there's, I feel like the fitness industry, or at least like the physical gym industry, runs on people
who sign up and never go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I'm one of those people the last 3 months. I started going again in January. I've had a gym. I used to be really active, but then when I got COVID last year, it really slowed me down, and I had a hard time getting back into it. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. It's all those people who just never bother to cancel their gym membership, but never go.
Yeah.
I use and I'll do a little self-shilling here. I really and I don't say this just because I have a link, but I really, really like TrueFire. I think they have great lessons. You can slow things down. They give you tab. It's really, really handy. I've learned a whole lot just in the last year from using TrueFire a bunch. And I do have an affiliate code. I can get you 40% off your first order. So,
oh wow,
yeah, it's a big discount. So if you want to try that, I recommend it. If not TrueFire, find a guitar teacher. Find something, set aside even one hour a month where you go sit and talk and play with another person who knows more than you do, who can guide you through learning some things. That's it. You're not going to practice if left to your own devices. I've recently been sitting in this room, finally learning some stuff that I put off learning for so long. And because I got so sick of realizing that I am playing the same like bag of licks that I know over and over and over and over again. And
right.
I'm so sick of playing them.
I don't even have a bag of licks. That's my problem. So I do need to get into some kind of practice routine, even if it's just, once a week, twice a week, whatever.
Yes, Keith
Um,
Williams does approve of this. Also, Sassy, my discount is bigger than his, so use my link. He only gets you 35%. I get you 40% off.
Oh my gosh.
Because 40-watt podcast.
Oh my, is that really why?
That's really why.
Wow. Let's see. I'm losing track of my screens. Michael Cross also says, "Are we back to trading at music stores?" I think if you need money, like if you need that cash fast, you want to move fast. Unfortunately, maybe I'm not in that position where I need to do that, so I'm not.
Same.
Um,
Well,
but
otherwise, I'll give a couple of things. There are several, and y'all have all seen them in the Facebook groups. The guys who literally are just buying and selling online.
Yeah.
You've got some folks like Tyler. I know there's a Jake who does it. He's the one who has all the pictures of guitars on the white shag rug. Y'all seen of these. Y'all know what I'm talking about. If you've ever looked at gear on Facebook, and there's like this whole crop of people buying and selling who take these really fantastic photos, and they're really kind of artsy with their photos. You recognize the style. But those guys also do trades. So they're an option as well if you're looking, if they have something you're interested in, and they do. Some of them do pedals too, and not just guitars. That's how I got my 335 actually.
Okay.
Was a trade.
Yeah, I think trade-in was always viable if you needed to move fast. That's just the thing. Guitar Center did this one thing a few years ago. I know some people like super took advantage of. I don't know if they've rewritten the way it's done, but they used to do one that was, if you were doing a trade-in, they would give you 10% off of. So instead of just giving you, okay, you're going to trade in whatever and we're going to give you that cash value,
right?
And then you just put it directly to another thing. They would give you 10% off of like an item with a qualified trade-in, but the qualification for the trade-in was just anything that was acceptable to trade in.
Oh yeah, so you could like trade in some like cheap pedal and get 10% off a Gibson Les Paul.
No, literally, like that was the few people I saw who did it were trading in DS1s, which Guitar Center would normally pay like $25 for.
Right.
And they were trading those in for like Gibson Les Pauls or like whatever. Like they're getting basically like 2,000, or they're getting like $200 to $300 credits on Boss DS1s.
Gosh, that is amazing.
So I don't know if that's I think that was like a specific deal they were doing. I'm gonna slide through some things here that are kind of topics we covered, but I want to hit this one from Patrick Hardy. Is the Squire bullet history now, and does that mean Squire bullets are going to go up in price? The Fender or the Squire Sonic series looks like it's just a rebranding of the Bullet series with more colors. I haven't looked very closely at it to like do spec comparison, but they're the same price point. They look really like, when I look at the one on Sweetwater, it's got this Squire Sonic Stratocaster that's called the HT. It's a hardtail, single humbucker hardtail bridge. I mean, that's a bullet to me.
Yeah.
Single ply pick guard, which is absolute vomit. I hate single ply. I find very few applications where I'm like, oh, great, single ply pick guard. Most of the time I don't like them. I think that this is a replacement for the bullet. I don't know. Does that mean?
Also, please don't pay jacked up prices for a Squire bullet.
Yeah.
Like, as much as we talk about the increased quality, and as someone who's played several of those bullets and a few of the more recent versions of the Starcasters, not the semi-hollow ones, the
Costco ones.
Yeah, the Costco Starcasters. Those things do not seem to have been affected by the increase in quality at Squire. I've not had good luck with Bullet series Squires at all.
Yeah.
Please
Um,
don't. Please do not pay classic vibe prices for Bullet series instruments. Is
yeah.
what I'm saying.
I'll say you don't want to do that anything. And you can tell because the necks are always, one of the hallmarks of the Bullet series is that it's all satin necks.
Yeah.
A lot of folks get the classic Fender and Squire Japan Bullets mixed into this, and they go, well, why is this bullet with a body shape that I've never seen before? $500, $600. Those ones are made completely differently.
Okay. Gotcha.
Those were originally student guitars as well.
Yeah.
But I've every Bullet 2, which is actually the Korean series of Bullets from like the late 80s that I've played.
Ignore the 80s when I say all of this.
They've had fantastic necks. And then of the Japanese, I've owned a Japanese. I've got one out in the other room that's just kind of the bang around for the kids. I paid $40 for it.
Wow.
Somebody etched out the made in Japan part on like with a Dremel. And it doesn't work. Like it's like something's wrong with one of the switches or with the switch, or I don't know what, but it only like one of the 3 pickups works. Maybe the pickups, there's something wrong with it. I don't care. It's just out in the living room for the kids to strum when they walk around.
Sure.
But the neck on that's fantastic. It's a tiny neck. It's like I think it's like a 23-inch scale, 22-inch scale. It's real short because it's like a 3/4 size electric guitar, 7/8 or whatever. 9/16. I don't remember. It's some smaller version. But I really hope that we're not going to see a 2010 Squire Bullet price skyrocket. I think that, like I said, the upside with the Sonic series, I'm just looking at Sweetwater, some of the ones they have: Flash Pink, Tahitian Coral, Black,
White, Red,
Ultraviolet, and California Blue. And California Blue is really similar to the Miami Blue that they did on the Fender Professional. Was it the Professional series a few years ago?
Yeah.
So they're really putting out new, like, fun colors in these. And I kind of feel like that's why they rebranded. I haven't compared spec to spec how different they actually are. So yeah. Somebody, just to double back a few minutes, Ian Johnston. I don't know actually. I assume that's what this name is. I talk to him all the time on our Discord. I don't actually know how to say his name because I'm not Irish. I think it's Irish. So this is going back to the Trogley thing, saying that he's had, like, I think someone else said it's like 2 or 3 times that he's had guitars that got to customs in Chicago and got stuck there and then just vanished, and then ended up on like eBay on like a US customs eBay or whatever, like later. I don't know if it was a US customs eBay, but it's basically something to indicate that either there was something fishy going on.
Right.
And I'm sure he gets into those details on his channel. So if you want to know more, head on over to Trogley. I'm going to take like a couple more questions, I think, because I can hear my kid running around. Sassy, 60% off. I don't know if we could ever get a 60% off for 60 cycle hum. That would maybe be like a 1-day sale. Acceleration Rules says pick one guitar pedal. Just one.
Just one?
Just one.
Okay. 1 sec. I'll be right back.
Is a HX Stomp one guitar pedal? I feel like that an HX Stomp doesn't count as one guitar pedal. Mark DeBruyne says Bad Monkey. The Bad Monkey's not on my list. The Wacka is a lot of fun.
All right. If I had to pick one pedal, I'm going to pick
what's your one pedal?
I'm going to pick the one pedal I've actually gigged with as my only pedal.
Oh, King of Tone. That makes sense.
Yep, 100%. Every day. In fact, I have 2 of them because one stays on my pedal board and the other has the feet so that I can carry it and just put it on the floor when I gig. Because I keep a battery in it and I gig on battery.
Okay, that seems that's a bit extreme, but no. I suppose like, and that's one of the things that is weird about gear. Well, let me go pick my one pedal.
Go pick your one pedal. And I'll keep talking here for just a second while he picks one. King of Tone, 2-sided overdrive, almost identical sides. I don't know why. I mean, all I need is an overdrive. I just need to push the amp. Usually I play an amp that has reverb on it. Even better if it has tremolo on it. So yeah, this is what I would use. That's all I need.
I don't know where my one pedal is. I think it might be on one of my pedal boards right now, but I grabbed this guy. I don't think these are in production anymore, but it's the Quiet Theory Prelude. And I picked this because I saw the band Copeland like last weekend. And the guitar player, one of the guitar players from Copeland, Brian Lawrenson, he was the kind of the guy behind Quiet Theory. And this is maybe apocryphal. It's probably apocryphal. I have no reason to actually believe this, but in my head, it makes sense that Quiet Theory was actually, well, I don't want to say they were the first, but at least in the recent wave, they were one of the lesser known guy in a lesser known band that had like some popularity starting a pedal company wave.
Oh, I gotcha.
So in my head, and again, I'm just making this up. I have no reason to think this is true. But in my head, if Quiet Theory didn't exist, then we never would have had 1981.
Interesting.
And I'm pretty sure those guys know each other. I definitely know when I went to Copeland, I looked at their Brian's pedal board, and there was a DRV on the board. And that, I'm sure that whole business it's a small world. But yeah, this is a delay and reverb in one. I could probably, the pedal I wanted to grab, but like I said, I think it's on a pedal board right now, is a Boss DD5, which is my favorite. They're like one of my classic all-time delays.
MJD Bruin, I do have a 201. It's not a pedal. I don't care what anybody says. This is not a pedal.
It's not a pedal?
No, this is not a pedal.
Oh
this weighs more than a couple of amps I
have. There's some other things about like if you were to take only one pedal, what would you use? You could use like the Sanzap, the Fly Rigs, of course.
Oh
yeah. That sort of a deal. But yeah, Kevin Ramsey going back. I have a $5,000 Gibson Acoustic J185. I've had it on reverb for months, running out of ideas to sell it. This isn't way outside of I mean, I guess all I can say is if it's $5,000 new, it kind of goes back to what I was saying, is like, if you need to sell it, then you may have to drop the price. When I punch in J185, there's a whole bunch of results, and there it looks like, depending on the model, the cheapest ones on reverb right now are in the mid 2000s.
Yeah, unless you wanted the Walnut or the Blues King model.
So I mean, and actually I should say those are all brand new. So if I were to filter,
there is a model that is 5200 new, and that's the Custom Shop 52 J185. So if you've got one of those, I'm seeing a few in the used price range of 4,000, 4,200. I mean, that's the hard part. You're probably not going to get 5,000 for it. J185 is a great guitar. I have a friend of mine. She plays a lot, and her
Mm.
main guitar is a J185, and it is beat to hell because she gigs a lot on it. She posted a picture today where it's like a whole section of the finish is worn off the back. It's just gone. They're good guitars.
Yeah. Robert McDowell asks, is there a computer program that you can play a song and it will convert it to tab? I think the answer is actually yes.
Is there really?
But I don't know what that software is called, and I don't know how good it is.
Yeah, Robert, my suggestion for you is to go onto Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com. There are lots of people over there that will tab out a song for you for like $5 or $10.
Again, Ian Johnston says, I read the Mustangs are slab instead of the arm cut, so they're Jag-Stangs. That's all I had. I just wanted to say something snarky about that. And let's see. Tahitian Coral is Chicago Music Exchange's Pacific Peach. That just visually, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I'm sad I didn't pick up one of the Bronco basses in the CME shell pink. I'm literally bummed I didn't buy one. It was $200. Why didn't I get one?
Lots of comments about what is a pedal? Is a reverb tank a pedal? If it's foot switchable, maybe. Is it RE120? But is RE120? Does it have a foot switch?
RE202 does have a foot switch.
Or
It has
202?
it has a switch. The thing I don't like about the foot switch on the 201 is that it actually disengages the pinch roller. So when you turn it off, you actually hear it go do, like slow down. And then when you engage it again, it speeds up again into it because the pinch roller is re-engaging. So you're not just stopping the effect. There is a switch on the front to just mute the delays. But that's not what the foot switch does.
Right. Interesting.
And so it's really frustrating because I thought before I bought this, I thought that's what the foot switch did, was just flip that switch remotely, but it's not. So
if it has a foot switch input, it's a pedal. Wait, but doesn't that make every 2-channel amp a pedal?
That's true.
I mean, I guess in the case of my amps, though, I don't have any amps that are pedals.
I have one. I have my Mesa. I guess that would be a pedal. It's got lots of foot switches.
Yeah, I don't have any.
Steve, what do you practice bass at home on? What do you use for your practice bass amp?
I usually practice like just through when I practice like through HX Stomp.
Good call.
But like I've got set up back here right now the Crate power block with just running through this. It sounds okay. It's the Crate power block is like an all around, and actually I cannot say this definitively, but there might be a video at some point later this year, depending on what we get lined up, comparing the Crate power block and maybe a Quilter amp. And something else. Oh, you know what? Now that I remember what the something else is, I don't know what it was, if it's going to happen. But Ryan and I were talking about comparing like different phases of solid state amps as a video for the channel. And so the Crate power block was really, I don't want to say it was the first, right? It was certainly the first big entry into the Class D amp market. It's great. It is 100 watts. It has a direct out. I used it to run bass direct. Actually, I used to use this amp as a combo DI and amp at church because because of the way our sound system was set up, they would run 2 mixes. They would run 1 mix for vocals and 1 mix for the instruments. And because we had so the mix for the instruments was guitar, drums, Like our band was piano, guitar, drums, and bass. And so we were trying to balance all of those things through single speaker. And by the time I could
Yeah.
get enough bass through my wedge that I could actually like hear it, it was also so loud in the other 3 speakers that apparently it was like overpowering our sound system. So what I did until I got in trouble is I would unplug. My wedge was the last wedge in the series of wedges.
Yeah.
So I
Because
would
they're all just daisy chained together.
yeah. So I would unplug it and just I would run the DI to the board, and I could actually I was standing behind the vocalists, so I could actually pick up enough of everything else going on, like the acoustic guitar, which is all I really needed to follow along to. The drums were live in the room, so I could hear
Sure.
those fine, and I could hear the vocal and like I said, the acoustic guitar through the vocal monitors. So I would just plug the bass directly in. I would plug the speaker outs on the crate into the wedge.
So your monitor wedge was just your bass
It was
sound.
just bass. I was running it as an amp or as a speaker cabinet. It was this big dumb Fender. Does Fender still make professional audio equipment?
I think they still make the tiny PAs, but nothing
Oh,
beyond that.
the travel PAs.
Yeah, they'll
Yeah.
travel PAs.
This was when they were, trying to do like full
Yeah.
professional audio that was all honestly, it was all kind of shit.
It was all terrible.
Um,
Quick caveat, the crate is actually 150 watts, not 100.
is it 150?
It's 150 and
Damn.
it's stereo.
Yeah. I've never used a stereo output because it's a TRS. I think it's TRS stereo.
Yeah.
And,
I have a gear reverb watch list hoping one will pop up for $100 or cheaper. Right now they're like 175, 189, but I know someone who picked one up a couple of weeks ago for $100. So
oh wow.
I still keep hoping one will pop back up.
I think I bought mine for I want to say 60 or 80.
Yeah.
It was around the time that when they blew them out for like $99 new.
Yeah,
Maybe I paid more. Maybe I paid like 125.
It's a great backup amp too.
I honestly don't
just in
remember.
general.
Yeah.
You throw it in a bag. It's super easy to carry around.
I used to carry it around just for that. It's kind of, I mean, the crate power block is, it's funny because I've said in the past, because I've seen it described this way many times, is that the PV Windsor head was a poor man's JCM 800.
That's absolutely right.
The crate power block is the broke ass man's JCM 800.
Well, there are a ton of young teenagers in the early 2000s who that was the amp that they could afford. There wasn't another amp in that price point that had the power and did what it did. You found an old beat up cab that somebody had sitting around and you bought a $100, $150 crate power block and you were good to go.
Yeah, no, they sounded they sound good enough.
Exactly. They're good enough. They're really super clean. Actually, I think they make great acoustic guitar amps.
I don't know if I've ever tried to use it for that because I think
can do it.
All my acoustic situations I'd just be running direct anyway.
Yeah.
But I've definitely done electric guitar through it in situations where I needed to especially like I said, with the flexibility of being able to run a DI out and do a cabinet at the same time. So yeah, so that's what I'm running. And like I said before, I'm planning on putting bass through this guy eventually because I'm just not super I'm running it through a 12-inch cab. I'm not worried about getting like super beefy tone. I don't need to run super loud. So I'm just kind of interested in seeing what bass will sound like through a 2.8 watt amp.
Dude, I want to hear it. Record it. Let me know.
Yeah, so I'm need to do some stuff with that.
I got to respond to this. Red Ricks, you said, heathens, my great grandfather was kicked out of his church for suggesting singing psalms with quarter and 8 notes. And now go back and look at the Baptist hymnal. There are so many songs in like 7/4 or not 6/8. That's really relatively common, but like 7/4, 5/4. There's all sorts of 11/8. I saw once in the hymnal. There's some wild stuff in there. But I have also performed in a church where we used a conga drum, one conga. Like
Yeah.
that's it. And a deacon told the pastor that there was ever a drum in his church again, he and his family were leaving.
Oh my gosh.
That was in the 90s or early 2000s.
People get real nutty about that. I don't know. I'll go back to that in a second. I did want to hit this. Is the orange micro tear with the speaker on Amazon okay in a small room? And can you add a mini pedal setup? I mean, you definitely can add a mini pedal setup on it. I know Ryan really liked the orange micro tear. My experience with it is almost non-existent, but I feel like for like a bedroom small setup, I'm not sure what the speaker on Amazon is maybe that's some kind of combo.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find it.
I mean, the Micro Terror is dirt cheap.
Okay, it looks like they sell a orange micro tear with a PPC 108.
So an 8-inch speaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's from the PPC lineup, which is interesting. Is it really?
It's a closed back 1x8. I'm always going to suggest if you only have one speaker, you're going to want a 12-inch speaker.
Yeah, but if you're if it's just a bedroom, I mean, even in a bedroom, I
still prefer a 12-inch speaker. I just still do. It just they don't sound great through a tiny speaker.
Yeah.
I don't know how much.
Sassy says the micro tears are pretty loud. I know they can get loud. Scientific man, a lot of comments. I keep a scientific uppercut says I keep a micro tear in the living room, and into a 1x12, it is plenty. But going back to Redrick's question or statement about getting kicked out, I was kind of in that same transition of moving from where we did all of our music off piano, and then we moved from piano to piano with an acoustic guitar, and then like small drums. I remember that transition, and
the cajon was such a big deal.
The djembe,
yes,
for a long time. It's and now it's full ass bands. Like it's and one of the big things, whether the volumes justify it, at least the sonic landscape of it. Now, I will say there's a little bit of a pullback now, but I would say at least from like 2010 to 2019, 2020, the big movement in like church music was like wall of sound. It was stacking drives to get as many. It's freaking Pimp My Ride for Tube Screamers. Oh, hey dog, I heard you like overdrives. So I put an overdrive in your overdrive so you could run it into your overdrive,
and that's before we even talk about the John Mayer influence on the blues breaker circuit and how it started to push everywhere.
Yeah, but it's oh hey, what do you use your clon for? Oh, I use my clon. I run my clon into my Tube Screamer, into my Rat, like, or the number of people who all of a sudden the Rat was a low gain. The secret to church tone is a Rat run at low gain or whatever. Different things like that.
Yes.
And then dual delays into modulated shimmer verbs and all this stuff. It's very landscaping. The whole idea that church music is just like Coldplay or U2 is a very like 2000, I would say like 2004 to 2008 mentality.
Yeah.
and it crops up here and there, but I don't think you see it as much. And now we're kind of getting, there's at least a few artists that are kind of getting back to like more gospel-y, like a kind of like throwback to acoustic stuff. That's kind of interesting. But this comment combined with Hero Glop's comment here, it seems that drums is what's driving the need for volume. Wouldn't it be more practical drums designed to sound quieter? I don't know if they've gotten there where it's not at least from a drummer standpoint, drummers I've known where they go like that, they're sacrificing too much for the sake of volume.
Yeah, I agree.
We've run hybrid electric kits. We've run, you can only moon gel so much.
Well, do you remember the little mute pads that people would try to use?
Yeah,
or hot rods or cool rods?
Hot rods. Yeah, you put hot rods in the hands of like a super dynamic drummer, and you're gonna be spending $10 $20 a month on just rods because
exactly.
they're breaking through these things. So I've known drummers who just absolutely destroyed those things. Sometimes they would do it on purpose.
Yep. Scientific uppercut. I call modern worship music U2 and Coldplay with different lyrics.
So what we ran we've run all triggered drum sets that were specially made. I forget what the brand is. Museo, I want to say Muzzio. Is that the brand?
Gaze.
It is not Museo. But there's a company actually in San Diego. Oh, maybe it is Museo. Muzzio drums. They're actually based out of San Diego County, and they specialize in fully, like, they're drums, but they're designed to be integrated into electronic setups. So it's all I don't know how they do their heads. I don't remember.
Do they do the mesh heads thing?
I think they do, but it's like mesh heads on like wood shells.
Oh, yeah. I think there's a version of both Alesis and Roland's kits that get to where you like actually have a wood shell with a mesh head.
I've run the Roland at the time. It was the flagship. I think it was the TD20 back in the day. And the problem that I have had with the V drum thing, real quick, Museo also does the like completely mesh cymbals.
Oh yeah,
so it's like it's metal, but it's all drill holes everywhere. Cymbals. One of the problems we had with the Roland TD20, at least in the church application, is they are, and so David Ross says this, E-drums are great for lower volumes, but I've had drummers tell me they hear latency when running them into an amplifier. I don't know if the latency is, it probably depends on the model. What I found with the Roland TD20, which again was the flagship kit maybe 10, 15 years ago, but it was the best thing on the market at the time. I thought it was really good. But the thing that I found is at low volumes, which a lot of churches are trying to pull the drums below like 85 dB.
Yeah, it's wild.
And keep the bleed off from stage like below 85. They sound like crap.
Yep.
They start to sound bad because you start to hear the pads over the drums. So in this case, I don't know if they're actually, maybe they're hearing latency. I'm not a drummer. I'm just telling you what my experience as. I say, like, I'm not a drummer. My experience with drums is I know enough about drums, or I knew enough about drums. I haven't sat down and played the drums in 10 years probably. But at the time, like, I knew enough about drums that I could do a sound check on drums. And like, I knew I had like consistent enough strike velocity that if the drummer was doing something else, or our drummer used to also be like our best sound guy, so he would like do the sound check on the drums, like he would run the board during the drum sound check, and they would just need someone to hit them. So, and that was me.
Yeah.
um
Well, also, if you want to think about that whole decreased volume thing, you're going to run into the same thing because cymbals are a wide EQ spectrum.
yeah,
And so when you start lowering the volume, Fletcher Munson's going to hit you in the face.
yeah,
And it's going to sound exactly like what happens when you turn down the music in your car and you start to lose certain frequencies
exactly,
faster than other things.
And that's what I found big time with eDrums, is when you start to pull the volume back because you're trying to get below a threshold. They just started sounding really dead.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, you can only get so quiet. I know I say 85, and it's probably more like below 80. I think,
By the way, a toilet flush is at 75.
yeah, that, jeez. So I feel like, and this is like near distance, right? They're trying to, on stage, they're trying to run the drums super quiet on stage too, and everywhere. I just think that, where I noticed it was in headphone mixes, because we would try to run on ears, and if the drums were loud, or if the drums were loud in house, the louder the drums were in house, the less I could hear the pads, or maybe not hear the pads at all. Then that's where they started to sound good.
Yep.
And of course they take work. It's just like the stuff in the guitar world, the line 6 stuff, right? Like if you go in, and just you're gonna only run the default settings on your line 6 amp or your line 6 whatever, and you're gonna go like, oh well, I just use setting 4, and you're like, but you never turn off the phaser ever, or whatever, you're running on the default setting for the insane channel all the time. Yeah, it's gonna like not sound the best.
Yeah,
there are better settings out there.
You got to learn to tweak it. You got to learn to use it. I've played a lot of situations in musicals and show choirs and church gigs, but mostly in like musicals, where the point of the E kit was not to get the house volume quieter. It was because we were playing in a confined space off stage.
Right.
And we couldn't have, we just couldn't have that much volume off stage. Like, so we all were direct, or, the E kit, and we all had monitors where we could hear, but it wasn't so it'd be quieter. And it works great in that situation. It worked phenomenal because you're taking this sound, everybody can hear each other, and then you're pumping it loud through the front of house.
No, exactly.
But when you're trying to keep the house quiet too, you just don't need drums.
And you can run, like I said, you can run a reduced volume, but I think the goal isn't to go from, hey, we're at 98 decibels, let's drop this down to 80 decibels. It's got to be, we're at 98 decibels, let's get this down to 92.
Right.
Michael
Krause, the Rolands have mesh heads, not real heads.
Yeah.
I do want to come back to something real quick. Back up. This is just like a quick little add on to our point earlier, for Patrick Hardy about the orange amp. He says his incomes, he's disabled, so his income's gone way down, is why he's looking at that package. So Patrick, I think the orange Microterror would be a great amp for that situation. It's affordable. It sounds pretty good. What I would do though, instead of that 8-inch speaker cabinet, I would do a Facebook Marketplace reverb search for a used 1x12. Don't pay the like $500 that Orange wants for their 1x12. Find a PV 1x12 with a vintage 30 in it. And you can find those used all day long for like $110, $120.
At least you can in Mississippi.
Yeah. I can find them on Reverb, Steve. So I did check Reverb first. I'm looking at right now, there's There's a PV 1x12 extension cabinet. Of course, it's local pickup only, but it's $115. So find you one that has, in your area or has shipping. And actually, do they still sell the Harley Benton 1x12?
I think they might. That could be a good way to go too.
Yeah, because that thing had a vintage 30 in it, and it's $150.
Yep. All right, we got like 5 minutes. I
Yeah.
like to keep these under 2 hours, and we are right there. You're Philip from 40 Watt Podcast. What else you got to promote?
That's it, man. That's the big deal. So, follow on, please subscribe on YouTube. I'm trying to start doing some more YouTube stuff, and I need some subscribers. That'd be great. So all the podcasts go out both in podcast players and on YouTube. So check those out. You can find me on all the socials at 40 Watt Podcast.
All right. And I'm Steve. Ryan's probably at church.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Church is probably about getting out right now. But I'm at home, and and all I will say is I'm wearing a Honey Pick shirt. Go check them out. I'm a big fan of Honey Picks. I need to find mine. I know I have several, but I have not relocated them since the move, which is sad because we moved a while ago. But I need to find them because every time I pull out anything other pick, I'm a little sad about it.
Yep. Me too.
But
I just remembered one's in the pocket of my jeans. I need to go get it before they get washed.
But that's it for me. So I'm gonna say goodbye to everyone. Have a great rest of your day and stay grounded.
Au revoir.